Hello student. In last session we have discussed about the indirect tax law, that is GST. From today's session we are going to start with the direct tax law, that is income tax, which is required for your account writing as well as some part in technical accounting. Now whenever we are talking about the direct tax, that is income tax, there are the components of income tax laws in India. First is Income Tax Act 1961. The provisions of income tax extend to whole of India and became effective from 1st April 1962. The Act contains provision for determination of taxable income, determination of tax liability, procedure for assessment, appeal, penalties, prosecutions, and powers and duties of income tax authorities. Second component in income tax law is annual amendments, or you can say Annual Finance Act. Income Tax Act has undergone several amendments from the time it was originally enacted to the Union Budget. Every year, a finance bill is presented before the Parliament by the Finance Minister. The bill contains various amendments which are sought to be made in the areas of direct and indirect taxes, which are levied by the central government. When the finance bill is approved by both the houses of parliament and receive the assent of the president, it becomes the Finance Act. The provisions of such Finance Act are thereafter incorporated in the Income Tax Act. If on the first day of April of the assessment year, the new Finance Act has not been enacted, the provisions in force in the preceding assessment year or the provision proposed in the finance bill before the Parliament, whichever is more beneficial to the assessee, will apply until the new provisions becomes effective. Besides these amendments, whenever it is found necessary, the government introduces amendments in the form of various acts and ordinances. The third component is Income Tax Rule 1962. As per the section 295, the board may, subject to the control of central government, make rules for the whole or any part of the India for carrying out the purpose of the act. Such rules are made applicable by notification in Gazette of India. These rules were first made in 1962 and are known as the Income Tax Rule 1962. Since then, many new rules have been framed or existing rules have been amended from time to time, and the same has been incorporated in the aforesaid rule. Next is circulars and notification by the CBDT. Under section 119, the board may issue certain circulars and clarification from time to time, which have to be followed and applied by the income tax authorities. The circulars or the clarification are binding upon the income tax authorities, but the same are not binding on the assessee. However, assessee can claim the benefit under such circulars. These circulars are not binding on the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal or on the courts. Judicial decision. Decisions of Supreme Court. Any decision given by the Supreme Court shall be applicable as a law till there is any change in law by the Parliament. Such decision shall be binding on all the courts, tribunals, income tax authorities, assessees, etc. In case there is apparently contradiction in two decisions, the decision of larger bench, whether earlier or later, shall always prevail. However, where decisions are given by the benches having equal number of judges, the decision of the recent case shall be applicable. Decisions given by the High Court or ITAT are binding on all assessees and income tax authorities, which fall under their jurisdiction unless it is overruled by the higher authority. Now, levy of income tax, or you can say under section 4, basic principle for charging the income tax. Income tax of the previous year of a person is charged to the tax immediately following assessment year. The rate of tax is applicable as is specified by the Annual Finance Act of that year. Further, though the Finance Act prescribed the rate of taxes in certain income, the Income Tax Act itself has prescribed specific rate. For example, lottery income to be taxed at the rate 30%. Long-term capital gain is to be taxed at the rate 20%. Short-term capital gain on listed shares is to be taxed at the rate 15%, etc. In respect of income chargeable to tax shall be deducted at source or paid in advance, whichever is applicable. Section 4 is a charging section and it is a backbone of Income Tax Act. The tax liability arises by virtue of this section and it arises at the close of the previous year. However, the finalization of amount of tax liability is postponed to the assessment year. It follows the rule that is the liability to tax is not depend on any assessment. Person. Now who is person under Income Tax Act? The term person include an individual, Hindu undivided family, a company, a firm, an association of person, we call it as a AOP, or body of individual, that is BOI, whether incorporated or not, a local authority, and every artificial judicial person not falling within any preceding categories. Now we'll talk about assessment year. As per section 2 subsection 9, assessment year means the period of 12 months commencing from the first day of April every year. It is the year just after the previous year in which income earned in the previous year is charged to tax. For example, assessment year 2021-22 is a year which commences on 1st April 2021 and ends on March 31st, 2022. Income of an assessee earned in the previous year, that is 2021, is assessed in the assessment year 21-22. So assessment year is a period of 12 months starting from the 1st April. It falls immediately after the previous year and income of previous year is assessed and taxable in the immediately following assessment year. Now previous year, or in the other words it is also called as a uniform previous year. Under section 3, previous year means the financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. Income earned in a year is assessed in the next year. The year in which income is earned is known as a previous year and the next year in which income is assessed is known as a assessment year. It is mandatory for all assessee to follow the financial year, that is from 1st April to 31st March, as a previous year for income tax purpose. Now we will talk about the residential status of an assessee. Residential status of an assessee determines the scope of chargeability of his income. Whether a person will be charged to a particular income or not depend upon his residential status. Residential status is determined in respect of each previous year. In other words, residential status of a person may vary from one previous year to another previous year. A person can have only one residential status for a previous year. That is, he cannot be resident for one source of income and non-resident for another source. Citizenship and residential status are the two different concepts. A citizen of India may not be a resident of India for the purpose of income tax. A person can have same residential status in more than one country. The residential status of a person determines the taxability of the income. In case of an individual, the duration for which he is present in India determines his residential status. Based on the time spent by him, he may be resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident, or non-resident. The concept of deemed resident introduced by Finance Act 2020, A deemed resident is always a resident but not ordinarily resident in India. According to section 14 of the Act, all income of a person shall be classified under the five heads: salaries, income from house property, profits and gains of business or profession, capital gain, income from other sources. For computation of income, all taxable income should fall under any one of the five heads. If any type of income does not become a part of any one of the above mentioned first four head, it should be the part of the fifth head, that is income from other sources, which may be termed as a residual head. Income chargeable under a particular head cannot be charged under any other head. The Act has a self-contained provision in respect of each head of income. If any income is charged under a wrong head of income, the assessee may lose the benefit of deduction available to him under the correct head. There are only five heads of income as per section 14, but the assessee may generate the income from the various sources. In the same head of income, there may be various sources of the income. For example, under the head income from house property, there may be two or more house properties, and each house property shall be treated as a source of income. The source of income decides under which head income should be taxable. Computation of income under each head. Income is to be computed in accordance with the provisions regarding a particular head of income. There are certain incomes which are wholly exempt from the Income Tax Act, such as agricultural income. These incomes have to be excluded and will not form the part of the total income. Also, some incomes are partially exempt from the Income Tax Act. For example, house rent allowance, education allowance. These incomes are excluded only to the extent of the limit specified in the Act. The balance income over and above the prescribed exemption limit would enter the computation of total income and have to be classified under the relevant head of the income. There are deduction and allowances prescribed under each head of income. For example, while calculating income from house property, municipal taxes and interest on loan are allowed as a deduction. Similarly, deduction and allowances are prescribed under other heads of income. These deductions have to be considered before arriving at the main income chargeable under each head. Now, clubbing of income of spouse, minor, child. In case of individual, income tax is levied on a slab system on the total income. The tax system is progressive, that is, as the income increases, the applicable rate of taxes increases. Some taxpayers in the higher income bracket have a tendency to divert some portion of their income to their spouse, minor, child to minimize their tax burden. In order to prevent such tax avoidance, clubbing provisions have been incorporated in the Act, under which income arising to certain persons like spouse, minor, child have to be included in the income of a person who has diverted his income for the purpose of computing tax liability. Set off or carry forward and set off losses. An assessee may have a different sources of income under the same head of income. He may have a profit from one source and loss from the other. For example, an assessee may have a profit from his textile business and a loss from his printing business. This loss can be set off against the profit of the textile business to arrive at the net income chargeable under the head profit and gains of the business profession. Similarly, an assessee can have a loss under one head of income, say income from house property, and a profit under another head of income, say profit and gains of business profession. There are provisions in Income Tax Act for allowing inter-head adjustment in the certain cases. However, There are also restrictions in the certain cases like business loss is not allowed to be set off against salary income. Further, losses which cannot be set off in the current year due to inadequacy of eligible profit can be carried forward for set off in the subsequent year as the provision contained in the Act. Generally, brought forward losses under a particular head cannot be set off against income under another head, that is brought forward business loss cannot be set off against the income from the house property of the current year. Now we'll talk about the gross total income. Gross total income is the aggregate of income under all the five heads of income after adjusting the set off and carry forward of losses. Deduction under Chapter 6A is provided from gross total income to arrive at a total income for taxable income. There are basically four deduction heads. Deduction in respect of a certain payment, deduction in respect of a certain income, deduction in respect of other income, and other deduction. Total income. The total income arrived after claiming the above deduction from the gross total income is known as a total income. The total income so computed will have to be rounded off to the nearest multiple of rupees 10. That is, if the last figure in the rupee element is 5 or more, it should be rounded off to the next higher amount, which is a multiple of rupees 10. The paise element should be ignored. Thus, if the total income works out to be rupees 41,645, it should be rounded off to rupees 41,650. But if it works out as 41,644.98, it should be rounded off to 41,640. Now, application of the rates of tax on the income. The rate of taxes for different classes of assessee are prescribed by the Annual Finance Act. For individual HUF, there is a slab rate and a basic exemption limit. At present, the basic exemption limit is rupees 2,50,000 for individual. This means that no tax is payable by individual with a total income up to rupees 2,50,000. Those individuals whose total income is more than 2,50,000 but less than 5 lakhs have to pay tax on their total income in excess of rupees 2,50,000 at the rate 5%. However, resident individual in this slab enjoy a rebate of lower of rupees 12,500 or tax payable under section 87A. Total income between 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs attract the tax at the rate 20%. The highest tax slab is 30%, which is attracted in respect of income in excess of 10 lakhs. However, a new section 115 BAC provides an option for concessional slab rate to individual and HUF subject to certain conditions, which the tax rate have to be applied on the total income to arrive at the income tax liability. For certain special income like long-term capital gain, lottery income, specified short-term capital gain, slab rates are not applicable. These incomes are taxable at special rate of taxation, while the slab rates are given in Annual Finance Act. Special rates are contained in the Income Tax Act itself. Now we'll talk about surcharge on tax after rebate under section 87A. Then health and education cess. Surcharge on the tax after rebate under section 87A is also payable on tax as computed after rebate of 87A. Now what is rebate? In order to provide tax relief to the individual taxpayer who are in 5% tax slab, section 87A provide a rebate from the tax payable by an assessee. Being an individual resident in India whose total income does not exceed 5 lakhs, The rebate shall be equal to the amount of income tax payable on the total income for any assessment year or an amount of rupees 12,500, whichever is less. Now surcharge. Surcharge is an additional tax payable over and above the income tax. Surcharge is levied as a percentage of income tax where the total income exceeds rupees 50 lakhs. The rate of surcharge applicable for different slab of total income are different according to the level of income. Health and education cess on the income tax. The income tax as increased by the surcharge or as reduced by the rebate under section 87A, if applicable, is to be further increased by an additional surcharge called health and education cess on income tax at the rate 4% of income tax plus surcharge is applicable. Now we'll talk about the advance tax and tax deducted at source. As per the law, the taxpayers are required to pay the annual estimated tax in installment of 15%, 45%, 75% and 100% on or before 15th June, 15th September, 15th December and 15th March respectively. It is effectively means that they pay as they earn and at the same time the system ensures a steady flow of taxes to the exchequer. Tax payable or tax refundable. After adjusting the advance tax and the tax deducted at source, the assessee would arrive at the amount of net tax payable or refundable. Such amount should be rounded off to the nearest multiple of rupees 10 as per the section 288B. The assessee has to pay the amount of tax payable which is called as self-assessment tax on or before the due date of filing the return. Similarly, if any refund is due, assessee will get the same after filing the return of income. Now we'll talk about the TDS. What is TDS? It is a measure in which persons who are making the payment of income are responsible to deduct a tax from such income at specified rate and pay only the net amount. Tax so deducted, called as a TDS, shall be deposited with the government treasury within the stipulated time. The payer will issue a certificate in form number 16 or 16A to the payee and the payee will get the credit for the TDS and his tax liability shall be reduced to that extent. In nutshell, the provisions are merely a mode of collection of income tax and a check on the tax evasion through proper control and information. So the objective of TDS is nothing but the quicker realization of tax and effective realization of tax. There are several provisions in the Act for the TDS. Now for the accounting purpose, we have to consider the TDS on salary. Any person responsible for paying any income chargeable under the head salaries, that is employer, is required to deduct tax at source. Tax shall be collected at the time of payment of such income. Tax shall be collected at the average rate of tax computed on the basis of the prescribed rate in the force for the financial year in which payment to employee is made. The tax shall not be deducted if the taxable salary is less than exemption limit. Now the payment of tax by the employer. The employer paying any income in the nature of non-monetary perquisite may pay at his own option tax on such income without making deduction therefrom at the time when such tax was otherwise deductible. For this purpose, tax shall be determined on the average of income tax computed on the basis of the rate in force of the financial year on the income chargeable under the head salary. It is to be noted that the tax paid on non-monetary perquisite by the employer shall not be considered as an income of the employee. When the recipient applies to the assessing officer in form number 13 and he gets a certificate authorizing the payer to deduct no tax or deduct tax at a lower rate under section 197, will get a relaxation from the provision of the TDS. So student, this will be helpful for you for your computerized accounting or accounting writing. Thanks a lot student. Thank you very much.